Guessing, but yes, you've got that right already. The Supreme Court, do remember, has drawn a hard line, ordering all stray dogs off the streets of Delhi NCR. It's an 8 weeks deadline that's been set by the top court. This also means that all these community dogs will be sent off to shelters that must have sterilization, vaccination and 24/7 monitoring. The aim is to curb rising dog bite incidents and rabies cases, especially among children across the National Capital Region. But the fallout has been immediate and explosive, and for reasons more than one. Bollywood stars, animal rights activists, voices across India are calling it a death warrant for street dogs, warning of overcrowded shelters, disease outbreaks and the loss of animals that are part of community life. Protests have erupted across the National Capital Region, some driven by compassion, others by anger. A solution indeed is needed, but one that comes with no rush and comes with practicality. The government has promised humane implementation, yet the logistics are staggering. Thousands of dogs, limited infrastructure, and a deadline that leaves little room for error. For many, the question is not whether public safety matters, it's whether safety can be achieved without sacrificing compassion, and whether Delhi is actually ready to deliver on what the court has demanded. Joining us this morning will be Maneka Gandhi, one of India's most prominent voices on animal welfare, also Sumit Chanda, advocate in the Supreme Court. We'll go across to them in just a bit.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का अच्छा फैसला है कि उनको एक जगह रखा जाए।
बहुत परेशानी होती है बच्चे को ले जाने में, और फिर मोहल्ले वाले हैं जिसने पाला खा वो फिर लड़ता झगड़ता है, कहता भैया कुत्ता तुम्हारा है या किसका है, फिर वो बूझो तो फिर इंजेक्शन लगवाने पड़ते हैं।
10 लाख डॉग्स को एक शेल्टर में या एक जेल में बंद करना पॉसिबल नहीं है।
Issues with stray dogs. There are issues with sterilization, rabies, but there are solutions to this. Civil society can provide these solutions.
सारी चीज़ें कंसिडर करनी चाहिए, वो साइंटिफिक हो या हर एंगल कंसिडर करना चाहिए।
हम भी सर अपनी तैयारी कर रहे हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दोबारा अप्लाई करने के लिए। हमारे जो प्रैक्टिकल वाला एक तरफा फैसला है,
जो भी होगा लीगली होगा। व्हाट यू वांट टू से, व्हाटएवर विल हैपन इट विल बी लीगली।
मैं अपना पिल्ला नहीं दूंगी, मैं मर जाऊंगा ना, मैं अपना पिल्ला नहीं दूंगी।
I want to also touch upon the exact words that have come in from the top court and ask you about your big contention to the Supreme Court verdict. You've, in as many words, said that it lacks a rational thought and stems from anger and anger alone. Why do you say that, Ms. Gandhi?
Because the tone, the tenor of the judge, his refusal to listen to anybody. He just came, spoke, gave a judgment, and that was it. He listened to nobody. There were no arguments. Otherwise, we would have told him that yes, we certainly need a solution. And we would have been happy to work with him on this solution. I am sure that he's deeply concerned about the issue. But sometimes these solutions are not what he thinks.
Ms. Gandhi, now that everybody is weighing in on how this timeline is not realistic, how this is not the ideal solution, this is not the way to go about it, what would you propose as an ideal solution? Because a lot of RWAs, for instance, a lot of parents who've had their children fall victim to this have expressed gratitude to the top court too.
I'm sure. The point is that we are equally concerned about dog bites. And it is quite frightening if your child has ever been attacked or bitten or had to run from a pack of dogs. So it's not that we are on different sides. The point is we're both looking for the solution. The problem of biting has been created 50% by RWAs themselves. What they do is, the only reason why a dog bites after he is sterilized, and out of these 3 lakh, 2.5 lakh are sterilized. So the only reason why he bites is if the dog has been relocated. He goes for sterilization from my colony and he is thrown out in your colony. The RWA has a building complex of 500 flats, but they have a problem with 5 dogs living there. So they call a van, and at night they pick up these 5 dogs and they go and throw them somewhere else. Now, when a dog gets relocated, he has no idea where his food will come from. He's with new people. The local dogs are attacking him. People are running after him with dandas. He is going to bite. 99% of the bites are because of relocation. We have been, 50% is done by MCD because they take the dogs from rich colonies and they throw them in poorer colonies. So 50% they do, 50% the RWAs do, and then both of them shout about bites. We have been telling them for years now. For the last 6 years, this relocation has started. Why? There were no bites before that. So what is it that is creating these bites? It's simply relocation. If they would stop relocating animals and put them back in their own areas, there would be no biting by those animals. Their testosterone is gone. They won't have puppies. They are simply living out the rest of their lives. So this is the main solution. The second is the ABC centers. Nobody has looked at them for 25 years. Most of them are not recognized. They're not run by animal welfare people. Some of them don't even have doctors. They're run with leaking buildings, no isolation chambers, no CCTV. Government has not till today made monitoring committees. RTIs, all RTIs files show that the last time a monitoring committee met was a couple of years ago. So what we had suggested in our 14-point program was that revamp and redo the ABC centers to make them excellent. After all, Lucknow has just got one ABC program for the whole huge city. And they have done so brilliantly, that there's never been any complaints about bites, relocations, nothing. So if they can do it with one NGO, why can't you do it here with 20? You have 12 zones, cut the 20 down to 12 and make sure those are excellent. Put monitoring committees which go every day and check what they're doing. Keep a record of where the dogs are. This would solve the problem within 2 years. The minute relocation stops, the bites will stop. What you're going to do now is, you're going to take 3 lakh dogs, put them into 3 lakh fictitious buildings, and what will happen? The minute these 3 lakh dogs go, you will get 3 lakh dogs coming in from outside, from Ghaziabad, Faridabad, from the villages, from Gurgaon. Why? Because all beings, you, me, horses, ants, all of us go where food is. And food is plentiful in Delhi. So they will come to Delhi and they will sit into the same niches which are now empty because you've taken away 3 lakh dogs. So what will you do with the next 3 lakh and the next 3 lakh and the next 3 lakh? Wouldn't it be better to sterilize all of them and keep them here and have really good sterilization programs? Now, the Supreme Court, strangely enough, this particular bench of 2 judges is the same as the 2 judges headed by Justice Maheshwari, who ruled just a few months ago that the ABC program needs to be strengthened and nothing else. And that was a very sensible judgment, and the government was working on that.
Yeah. Why do you think now we're seeing the Supreme Court take this kind of a stance, wherein earlier the focus was on sterilization, was on proper care, was on civic authorities who really need to take responsibility for their well-being?
No, that was a good, reasoned, well thought out and well argued judgment from both sides. This argument, this decision has come out of anger. It's one judge's anger based on a newspaper clipping, which in itself is untrue. The newspaper clipping is that a little child died because she was bitten by dogs. Now that is a horrible thing to happen anyway. But as a matter of fact, that particular news clipping was not correct. The child did die, but she died of meningitis. And her parents have said that. So it was just some reporter trying to be sensational. Now, if you base that and get all angry and all in a bother and take out your anger as a judge, after all, judges are not supposed to be emotional about anything. But this is and no reasoned judgment comes out of anger, both for you, me, and judges. So this is an angry judgment. And unfortunately, we do not know the legal position. Can a two-judge bench overrule another two-judge bench? Because they're both equal. So which one should we listen to? The first reasoned judgment or the second one given with anger?
But
that we have to
end
decide.
with this one judgment, Ms. Gandhi. Almost mirroring is the Rajasthan High Court passing this direction, a similar direction in a suo motu plea. So there seems to be no end really to this coming in from the courts.
They did it yesterday afternoon after this judgment came out. They just said, we also do this. And so two judges got together and they did the same thing. But Rajasthan is even worse because they've decreed it for the entire state. Now, Rajasthan has got how many districts? I think 30 plus. So in each district now, you put up 1,000 shelters. Rajasthan does not even have an ABC program. It's 90% of it has no ABC. So you haven't even gone the ABC route, the dog sterilization route, and you've skipped all the steps to pounds. These pounds don't work. In Jodhpur, about 25 years ago, they made a pound for all the Jodhpur dogs. And they put in, I think they caught about 400 and they put them in. And it was appalling. The dogs ate each other. They bit anybody who went inside. There was, mara-mari from morning to night. And finally, the government had to throw up their hands and give abandon the pound and give it to an NGO for an ABC center. Now, Rajasthan really needs to do training to NGOs to run the ABC, to have a good ABC program, and they will solve the problem. But if you don't have any dog sterilization, then are you going to put what? How many lakh dogs are you going to put now in your shelters? And how much money are we going to waste on shelters? After all, 5 crores a week is what it'll cost the Delhi government to feed the dogs. This 5 crores is being done free today by feeders. So if you want to take on the responsibility, please go ahead.
Before we let you go, you've been very patient with us. I do want to understand from you your thoughts on when someone says if you're so concerned about animal safety, you should start petting an indie. Some have said that from a positive frame of mind. They've actually encouraged adoption, for instance. But the rest are almost throwing a jibe at all those who are fighting this judgment.
Beta, since 8 o'clock this morning to now, I have received copies of 273 emails that have been sent to the Supreme Court and to the Chief Minister of Delhi, just 2 hours. These are 273,000 people from Delhi itself who will come out and defend the dogs. But आपका जो कहना है कि if you're so worried about dogs, adopt an indie. I agree with you. I'm not disputing it. And I want to tell you the background of this. In 2018, Shri Modi's government banned pet shops. They said no pet shops in India are licensed. They are selling thousands and thousands of pedigree dogs which have been bred badly, carry diseases. So they said they should be examined and they should be told that you can only sell toys, medicines, or whatever you're licensed for, but you cannot sell animals anymore. One pet shop is serviced by 25 breeders. It is these pet shops who have invented 50 to 70% of the bites, all the bully dogs, all the GSDs, all the huskies. Your own bite statistics will show that these are dogs that bite because they protect their owners. But we have no space for them anymore. Now, since 2018 to till today, not one single pet shop has been closed or inspected. When the AAP government was here, they kept on saying, yes, we're checking, but 10 years passed. Till now, no pet shop has been closed anywhere. If we could close the pet shops down, then people who wanted to keep dogs would have to adopt Indian dogs. An Indie stands for Indian. It stands for independent. And it would be wonderful If we could think like Indians and adopt Indian dogs instead of going for Dojo, Argentino, and Alaskan Husky, a lot of people take these foreign dogs simply to show their neighbors how status conscious they are.
Not even, I mean, they're not going to be comfortable in this environment. Forget the practicality of it. Ms. Gandhi, you've also...
Beta, when you adopt a foreign dog, you are mohtaj. You are going to be giving your daughter's dowry to the vet. And so vets promote foreign dogs because you'll be seeing them almost every week. Unlike an Indian, we also suggested to the government that you put a registration like Lucknow has done. They have put 500 rupees a year if you have a foreign dog for registration. But if you adopt an Indie, it's zero. So let us give incentives.
You've also almost signaled that you're going to fight this tooth and nail, Ms. Gandhi. How do you plan to do that quickly?
Beta, I'm not going to fight it. India will fight it. I am nobody. India will fight this because India is a compassionate, wonderful country. And even the people who want the dogs removed, they are looking out for their children. It's not an either or situation. We both want the same. I would think that India will come forward with its best foot forward. Also, I have faith totally in the compassion of the Prime Minister. He is the one who made these laws. He is the one who, if you look at Man Ki Baat during COVID, asked people to go out and feed Indie dogs. At every point when push comes to shove, he has made a statement. So I'm going to really depend on him.
Okay, thank you. Wonderfully put. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts with us and thank you for taking out the time, Ms. Gandhi. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And now joining us is Sumit Chandar. He has been waiting on the broadcast very patiently. A very good morning, Mr. Sumit. Hope you're doing well. We're speaking at a time the entire national capital is up in arms. We've seen protests after protests. You just heard one of those voices that is almost leading that movement for people in the national capital region. I do want to begin with basics, Mr. Chandar. How do you read into the Supreme Court judgment?
See, the Supreme Court is very clear. There are two ways to look at it. The Supreme Court gets into if there is a law enacted by the Parliament, it can hold the provision of that act or the entire act as constitutional or unconstitutional. That has not been done in this case. What is there? There are two things to look at it. One, there is an act, which is your Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, and the other is a MCD Act. What everybody today is talking about, and what Mrs. Gandhi has also been talking about, was the ABC rules or the Animal Birth Control Rules of 2023, which lays down various provisions under which a committee is formed. The committee takes care of dog sterilization. There is a lot of other issues that is taken up under the rules. Now, the Supreme Court has not gone against the act which is made by the Parliament. The Act only says, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960 only says that there should not be any animal cruelty. And if there is a cruelty to animal, that will be a criminal offense. That is not, so Supreme Court says that the government has been directed that you file an affidavit within 8 weeks saying that what have you done under this, there should not be any cruelty to animals. But though Section 328 of the NDMC Act gives you the power that wherever the chairperson finds an abandoned or a roaming dog on the street, they have a power to remove them. So please remove them, put them to dog shelters, but those dogs should ensure at the same time that there should not be any cruelty to the animals.
But that's the contention here, Mr. Chandar. The contention here is that all of this indirectly amounts to dog cruelty. It almost amounts to death sentence for dogs because where is the infrastructure? If I just go by data, MCD, for instance, as per this report, operates around 20 animal control or sterilization centers. That's not enough. Even if that number were to go up beyond that, how many dogs are they going to be able to cater? And 8 weeks doesn't really look like a realistic timeline, quite frankly.
Yes, so there are two ways to what can be done now or what possibly might also get done with so much of activism coming up. One is that the review can be filed against what the judgment has been passed. The other is that government has been given 8 weeks to file an affidavit as to what they have done. If they are facing any problems, say problems of not having the proper dog shelters, not having enough dog shelters, or any of the complaints being raised in agitation today. Those issues can be put in that affidavit. The government has a right to ask for certain more time if they so need. But these end of your day, your problem is not about the laws or the judgment. The problem is about the implementation of it. Now,
The judgment also is being looked at as problematic. That's why I'm trying to go back to that point, Mr. Chandar, and I do want to understand from you again, where is this judgment then coming from? Because even courts earlier, while citing the existing laws that we followed for years at length, have spoken of how after the mandated sterilization, which has been ordered repeatedly by the courts, which the law of the land mandates, these community dogs have been asked to be sent back to their place of origin. That's in stark contradiction to what the Supreme Court judgment points out to.
yes, the reason being, see, earlier, of course, the implementation under the animal birth control rules, the rule was that you sterilize them, you send them back. The problem that came in is over a period of time, if the sterilization would have taken place with due diligence, then we would not have been facing this problem today, possibly. Now that this problem has arisen, of course, Supreme Court, when looking at this judgment today, all the activists have the opportunity to now approach the court, provide another manner or the framework, and in support what we call as the public and private relationship, where the government and the private NGOs can get together, find a solution. The problem is today, rather than focusing on what solutions can actually or what alternatives can be suggested to the court when the government files an affidavit, today everybody is focusing on what the judgment, where it is wrong and whether it is implementable or not. Now, those are the aspects we need to look at it slightly differently. Get in touch with the government, and Mrs. Gandhi, I'm sure, would have already done that, where along with the government, you move an application to the court, giving a suggestion as to how the NGOs, what are the right ways to protect the dogs, what these NGOs can do to assist the government to protect these dogs, with respect to the dog shelters, how to maintain it, how much new dog shelters can be created. So please help the government, I would recommend. The judgment only says that yes, there has to be a segmented manner in which you now take care of these dogs. Since you fail to implement the sterilization and the animal birth control rules in its true letter and spirit when it existed. So
then it boils down to, Mr. Chandar, who should have taken the onus, who failed in performing their duties, why is it that proper sterilization did not take place, and the one question being asked is, are the voiceless being punished for that? So what would your response to be all those raising these concerns?
See, it's unfortunately what is the dogs today are suffering because of somewhere there has been lack of implementation. Now, if we could have ensured that now that water has already crossed the bridge, there is implementation has not been done. Today we are at a situation where it's an extreme situation where the courts have intervened and taken a certain stand. Court has also given a time to the government to come back and give an affidavit stating as to how they're going to implement it and to ensure that implementation is done. If they need time, if they have solutions, it is the government, it is the NGOs who have to get with the government and then give a solution to the court. I'm sure the courts are open to listening to the solutions, but solutions which are practical, which are implementable. But somebody has to come back to the court with that.
Okay, so you're telling us all hope's not lost. There is still time left for the various stakeholders to make submissions to ensure that a proper solution comes out of this. Appreciate you speaking to us, Mr. Chandar. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Breakfast Club. With that, we head into a very quick break. Coming up next is another very important conversation. All of this in the wake of the Uttarkashi disaster, making your cover climate ready. How do you do that? How do you protect health and home in the time of crisis, as we've seen in the wake of the Air India crash or the visuals that you see on your screens? We're being joined by two very important guests in just a bit.
This is News 18 Network. largest news network.
Supreme Court's recent order to cage and relocate all stray dogs in Delhi NCR, and that too within 8 weeks, has sparked intense backlash from animal rights groups, legal experts and citizens. Critics argue that the order is both legally unsound and dangerously impractical, potentially affecting up to 10 lakh stray dogs in Delhi alone. While the Delhi government has promised a humane implementation, questions remain over feasibility. The MCD says that it is duty-bound to follow the order, and Delhi police have begun detaining protesters and registering FIRs against those animal lovers, rescuers and activists who gathered at India Gate to protest, only to be detained by the police later. As infrastructure collapses and officials remain unaccountable, many are questioning why stray dogs are being singled out. Meanwhile, celebrities, animal rights activists and politicians also have joined the debate, asking, is India becoming no country for dogs?
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक नया डिसीजन लिया है, वो स्ट्रे डॉग्स को चाहते हैं कि शेल्टर होम में वो लोगों को रखा जाए। अब इसके ऊपर क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
देखिए, जो डिसीजन लिया है उसके अगेंस्ट कुछ करना चाहिए, कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हम लोग काफ़ी टाइम से पूरे ब्लॉक में सब लोग परेशान हैं। हमारी बिल्डिंग में भी एक कुत्ता हफ्ते 10 दिन से आके रह रहा है, किसी का पेट है, किसने पट्टा बांधा हुआ है, लेकिन वो क्या है, जो भी बच्चे वहाँ के उनको काटना चालू कर दिया उसने, उसको भगा रहे हैं, भाग नहीं रहा, वहाँ पर काफ़ी दिन से वहीं बैठा हुआ है और बच्चों को काट भी रहा है। कितने केस हो गए यहाँ पर।
अब अपने एमसीडी को कंप्लेन करी थी इसके बारे में?
नंबर ही नहीं मिल रहा, ऑनलाइन भी मैंने यहाँ एनडीएमसी का है हमारा, मैंने एनडीएमसी के नंबर भी सर्च मारे, एक नंबर ही नहीं मिल रहे कि जिसमें हम कंप्लेन करें।
बात जो डिलीवरी बॉय होते हैं वो रात में या दिन में जो भी टाइम में जाते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली रात में क्या होता है कि वो जब डिलीवरी करने जाते हैं तो कुत्ते उनको चेस करते हैं और उसके ऊपर वो एक्सीडेंट्स का भी सामना करते हैं। तो इसके ऊपर आप क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
इसके ऊपर का कोई सेफ्टी उनके लिए कुछ होता नहीं। हम लोग कंप्लेन भी किए, उसके पास कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई और अभी भी मेरे घर में बैठा हुआ है और उसको अगर थोड़ा बहुत हटाते हैं फिर आग बढ़ जाता है, भौंकने लगता है।
कंप्लेन करने के बाद भी कुछ नहीं हुआ है?
नहीं, कोई कार्रवाई नहीं है।
जो हमारे घर के नीचे वहाँ पे 6-7 कुत्ते बैठे रहते हैं हर वक्त, शाम को भी दिन में भी
जी
भौंकते रहते हैं। जब बच्चे खेलते हैं फुटबॉल वगैरह, उसके भी दो बच्चों को भी काट खाया था, वो लेगी उसकी माता। लेकिन उन्होंने को हमने कहा ठहरो, अभी कंप्लेंट करते हैं, लेकिन वो सीधे हॉस्पिटल में ले गए थे।
हॉस्पिटल में जाना पड़ा,
सीधा ले गए वो हॉस्पिटल में, और अब भी बैठे रहते हैं।
ये देखिए
शाम को दिन में ये
जो डिसीजन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिया है जो डॉग्स को शेल्टर होम में डालने का, आपको ये इसके बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहती हैं?
मेरा बहुत दुख हो रहा है। ऐसे हमारा पिल्ला हमने इतना दिन पाला है, कबाड़ी चुनना है, सब कुछ हमने अपना पेड़ मेरा पेड़ काट के मैंने इसको खिलाया, बताओ। यानी इतना दुख हो रहा है। मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट को खुद सोचना चाहिए, इनके कोई जगह नहीं है, कहाँ डालेगा। पूरा दिल्ली में ये एक शेल्टर भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है। ये पिल्ला लेके कहाँ जाएगा, कहाँ है ये बताना।
आपने कुत्तों को मतलब डॉग्स को आपने एक जगहों का नाम दिया हुआ है, ये दिल्ली पुलिस से है, ये यहाँ से है।
हमारा इन्होंने छोड़ रखा है, दिल्ली पुलिस का भी है, इंडियन आर्मी वाला का भी है, मेजर सर का भी है, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट जड्जी का पिल्ला भी है, सारे इसमें मीडिया वाला का भी सबका मिस करके रखे, एनडीएमसी वाला का भी है। सबको इन्होंने छोड़ के जाता। हम बड़े इनके ट्रांसफर होता है ना, रखने का जगह नहीं होती, इसलिए मेरे पास छोड़ के जाता है, मदद भी करते हैं लोग।
और आपको क्या लगता है इतने लोगों के लिए शेल्टर होम है, इतने डॉग्स के लिए शेल्टर होम है?
नहीं है, बिल्कुल नहीं है। एक 10 कुत्ता का भी नहीं होता है, एक भी नहीं है शायद दिल्ली में। पूरा दिल्ली घूम के आया, कुछ भी नहीं है। इनकी इंजेक्शन कितना महंगा है, कुछ भी दवाई भी नहीं है, सारा प्राइवेट में डाल रखा है, कुछ भी नहीं है। मैं अपना पिल्ला नहीं दूंगी, मैं मर जाऊंगा ना, मैं अपना पिल्ला नहीं दूंगी। मैं मोदी जी से भी ये बोल रही हूँ, अपना पिल्ला नहीं दूंगी। मेरा पिल्ला लेके जाना तो मुझे गोली मारना चाहिए, मेरे को गोली मार के मेरा पिल्ला लेके जाओ।
कल एससी ने एक ऑर्डर दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, बेटा इंडिया किस तरीके से उस पर रिएक्ट करें?
देखिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो ये ऑर्डर है ये इलीगल है, इलॉजिकल है, इम्प्रैक्टिकल है और इनह्यूमन है। इलीगल इसलिए क्योंकि सरकार ने 2001 से एनिमल बर्थ कंट्रोल रूल्स बना रखे हैं जिसमें क्लियरली लिखा है कि एंड डॉग्स को उनकी लोकेशन से मूव नहीं किया जा सकता, क्योंकि डॉग्स जो हैं एक टेरिटोरियल एनिमल है। उनको वहाँ से हटाना का मतलब है कि अगर वो किसी और एरिया में जाएंगे तो वहाँ पे जो फाइट्स हैं फॉर रिसोर्सेज, खाने के लिए, बाकी चीज़ों के लिए, वो बढ़ेंगे, जिस वजह से डॉग बाइट्स और रेबीज़ के केसेस भी बढ़ेंगे। इम्प्रैक्टिकल इसलिए क्योंकि दिल्ली में लगभग 10 लाख डॉग्स हैं। 10 लाख डॉग्स को एक शेल्टर में या एक जेल में बंद करना पॉसिबल नहीं है।
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का कोई भी फैसला हमारे लिए है या माननीय कोर्ट का कोई भी फैसला हमारे लिए है,
Welcome back. Well, every disaster comes with two stories. The one we see on the ground and the one that plays out afterwards in living rooms, offices and insurance claim centers. The Uttarkashi tunnel collapse, to the Air India crash, to the floods, the landslides, what we just saw in Uttarkashi, in fact, just days ago. Each of these reminds us that survival is also about what happens the next day, the next week, and the next big bill that's coming your way. Climate extremes are hitting harder and more often, and insurance is no longer just a formality. It's actually a life jacket. It's like a financial life jacket. How do you choose one that actually holds up when tested? We first are being joined by Sushil Agarwal, founder and CEO of Ethica. They basically do the part or play the part of insurance brokers. He will be breaking down how to make your health and life cover truly disaster ready. Mr. Agarwal, speaking at a time that the entire country is literally shaken by those visuals we've seen in Uttarkashi, and God knows how many people are still missing. One question that's come to everyone's mind is what happens to the houses washed away? What happens to the people who've sustained severe injuries that will cost a lot of money? You know, when we talk about insurance in these kind of cases, what kind of structure is in place already from a user perspective in the country, and what more needs to be done?
It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. When I saw that video, you know, it is as if we are seeing some doomsday movie, right? That goosebumps, that is it real or is it happening to people around us, or it can happen to me also, right? Unfortunately, in India, we take our life for granted. We take good things for granted. We spend our entire life to save money to build one home, right? And hardly we may buy 1 or 2 homes in a entire life. And we don't even take necessary measures to protect that investment. Some of us may not be knowing that there is some instrument which can be used to save that, and some of them think that only good thing happens to me. Such kind of things are not for me, right? So I think there is a matter of awareness which program like this can help to reach out to more people and explain them that it is not just enough to earn money and save and build a house. Of course it is important, but we also need to do something to protect it. So my entire business is about what if, right? We come across every day some or other claim where we some story, some emotions behind that what this person has gone through, right? Insurance is a beautiful instrument which people can use it. Apart from what we do prayers, right? We do pray to God that good thing should happen to us, right? It is as important as that, or probably more. Even God might be saying that you need to take insurance. That's why what will happen just by praying? I have devised insurance for you and you take it, right? In India, we always confuse insurance with LIC, right? We have seen all our uncles, aunties, somebody will be there who will be selling policy, and we hate insurance thinking that, okay, only when I earn money to save tax, I need to buy a policy, right? That's not correct actually, right? That's an investment. That's a different science, right? Risk management is a different size, right? So the house which we are buying, we can safeguard that house from almost like 10 to 15 perils. That means what can happen to a house? Imagine that a fire accident can happen, a cylinder blast, right? Lighting can happen.
Anything can happen,
right?
yeah.
Floods are also of different types, right? There is flood, storm, typhoon, right? Hurricane, tsunami. There are so many things. Earthquake. All those things can be covered. That means if anything happens to my house, even if there is a train passing, let's say my house is just next to the railway station, train is passing, there is an impact on my house, even that can also be covered, right? And the cost of covering that house is peanuts. If I am buying a 1 crore house, the cost of covering that house might be 5,000 to 10,000. So where is 5,000? And that is per year, not per month, per year. Only because we don't know about it, we have not made an attempt to cover it. And if you cover it, you can just safeguard that, okay, we cannot stop tsunami, we cannot stop this flood, but if something like that happens, I have enough money to rebuild it.
So you have schemes that cover each of these?
Yes.
So one scheme that has your house covered for an earthquake-like
Yes.
situation, flood-like situation, any other explosion that's taken place, everything.
Riots हो सकता है, even that is covered. Lighting is covered, impact damage is covered, implosion, explosions are covered, landslide is covered. Like what we saw in Uttarakhand and very common nowadays, even that is covered, right? We hardly made an attempt to do that. Right?
But do you think, Mr. Agarwal, there's a little bit of hesitance to this entire concept? Like you said, there's so much myth around it. गलत फहमी बहुत ज़्यादा है. तो ये गलत फहमी है क्यों? A lot of people run away from this whole term of insurance saying that, you know, it's full of technical words, there's too many jargons. Do you think we need to simplify it further, or we've already reached that stage but there needs to be greater awareness now?
Yeah, very important point. Apart from the myth created by just as an investment scheme promoted by government to safeguard the tax, which of course is not there now, because now we are moving to a new tax regime where section 80D and all those things are gone. So we'll be more focused on taking the insurance for the sake of taking insurance, not for the investment, right? Apart from that, there is some myth created by the claim structure also, right? What happened when we buy a policy? We are not aware what is not covered. There is a thumb rule to buy a policy. Instead of asking the agent or insurance company what is covered, ask what is not covered. That's the best way, I will say, to understand whether the policy is going to cover the things which I am imagining that it should cover, right? That's the best question to ask, right? Second thing is, see, when we file for our IT returns, we go for a CA. When we file a suit on a court, we go for a lawyer. Why? Because we know it is so technical,
simplifies the
that
process.
Somebody has spent their entire life to understand it. I can't spend 10-15 minutes and do the same job what they are doing, right? Insurance is that, right? You need to have a person on your side of the table who will understand the policy better than what the other person understands, and then advise you what should be covered, what should not be covered, what you want to take insurance for, and what you can avoid it. And not only that, even claim happens. Even at the time of claim, that person will stand beside you to claim the money. What happens is, we keep listening in newspapers that this claim was denied. He took the policy and this, and that creates
trust deficit has been created.
Yes. So I will be afraid that, why should I take money when something happens, right? That's why even the government thought about it, and they created an entire licensing agency called broker. Now broker is like a person standing beside you, not beside insurance company. He is representing you. Taking a policy from the broker and taking a policy from the insurance company or agent is same. It will cost same. But the difference is, insuring with a broker is like double insurance. Why? A broker is also mandated to take care of your interest. And if he fails to do that, his policy will pay. That means I am insured against the professional indemnity, that if I don't do a proper job in advising someone else, that is my client, and he doesn't get the claim, then my policy will pay him. It's like double insurance. Right. So that is also not there. So they end up getting missold by either bank or maybe some agent who hardly knows about the policy. They say this is covered, that is not covered, but that is represented in the fine prints. Broker is fine prints of fine prints. Our job is to find out that fine prints and tell that this fine print is not available, this fine print is
So
required.
is this a relatively new concept? Tell us a little bit about it, because a lot of people may have not heard it. A lot of people don't know that there can be this kind of a double insurance. A lot of people are still apprehensive that somewhere or the other a loophole will be found and we will be schemed. So is this a relatively new concept, and why are we seeing this kind of a poor showing still? 1% homes, I just read it in a report, are fully insured, for instance. That is not a great record. Why are we looking at that poor trend?
See, in 2001, government started giving licenses for brokers. Till that time, we didn't had any option other than buying it from agents, right? 2001 it started. By the time people started knowing it, right, it almost 10 years it took for all of us to get known into the market, right? Even some of the insurance companies never encourage us because we were representing from the other side of the table. It was tough for them to manage us. So initially we faced a lot of hurdles, but eventually now we have around 700 brokers across India, and some of the brokers are bigger than the insurance companies, right? But there is a long way to go compared to some of the Western countries and European countries. The brokers are much bigger. They are present across the world. We have long way to go, but we are moving towards that. So out of like 3 lakh crores of premium, almost like 25% of that premium is now through brokers, which is a good progress. From in the last 20 years, if we have seen, if we are able to get 25, I think in next 5 to 10 years we'll be able to get around 50. So there is a progress, but not in the speed at which we want, right? We want more people. And what happens when we start trying to recruit people? When I go into the market, right, I hardly find people who are trained in insurance. I have MBAs, trained in finance, HR. I've got engineers, I've got doctors, but I have hardly people who are already trained as the insurance. Very few colleges who are there, right? That means I need to spend first few months, even though he might be MBA, but the next few months I have to spend my time and energy to train them. That might be one more reason that the progress is slow. But I think the insurance amendment bill, which has just passed yesterday in the parliament, the government is also planning to have a regulator, a separate health insurance regulator. There is a lot of efforts by finance ministry. There is a lot of initiatives done by IRDA in the last 10 years. The kind of changes it brought, right? I think it is very good step to make our insurance penetration almost double. So we are expecting by 2047, the government vision is insurance for all, right? In the last few years, if you have seen that health insurance, we were hardly aware. COVID made us aware. And after COVID, now we have so many government schemes, almost every state, even the central scheme, right? Covering all of us for 5 lakh rupees, right? Most of the, at least 50 crore population is covered under that. It's a very good initiative. But is it enough? I will say no. Why? Because maybe 5 lakh rupees, tell me, right? If I have something happens to me, I think I can beg and borrow, right? I can ask my relatives that, okay, I have got, and they will give, they will lend money. But what if I lose some in accident, some limb, and the doctor says 50 lakh rupees is required? There is a kidney replacement, liver replacement, heart replacement, that kind of cancer. This kind of diseases cannot be treated in 5 lakhs. In 1 day, 2 days, 5 lakhs will be over.
And some might not even be able to afford the 5 lakh while borrowing from relatives and friends. So that's another case.
That's another case, right? So we have two different level of risk taking, right? One is up to 5 lakhs and one is beyond 5 lakhs. What happens if it's 50 lakhs? Maybe he has to sell his entire ancestor's property. Even then he may not be able to make the bill. What happened in COVID? We saw claims of 1.5 lakh per day, and for 10 days 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs claim was common, which we never heard in India, right? So are we prepared for that, right? And what is the cost required for to cover that? So the first 5 lakhs might take, say, around 20,000 rupees to cover, but from 5 lakhs to 1 crore it might take 5,000. That means the first 5 lakhs is 20,000. From 5 lakhs to 95 lakhs, it is going to take only 5,000 rupees. So my advice is to viewers, first cover the 95 lakhs, because that is going to take care
of everything,
of the entire generation. That means one generation is required to earn that much money. Right? And once that is over, and if you still have budget, then you go for the next 5 lakhs.
But our insurance is also becoming more cost effective, user friendly, or easy on the pocket, if I can just put it that way. Is that also transitioning? Because a lot of people जिनके लिए पैसा जोड़ के insurance लेने वाली बात होती है, they are going to feel Why should we waste even a little bit of what we can save for something else, for something that comes down to our livelihood, for insurance, which we may need or we may not? That's what it comes down to if we speak of mentality. So what would be your message to those people quickly?
Cost effective? No. User friendly? Yes. Why cost effective? No. Because there are 4 parameters in this. See, when we talk about health insurance is dependent on the cost of health. That is basically the treatment cost. Now what happened? New technology is coming. Robotic has come. Now AI is coming, so I don't know what kind of new technologies it will bring, right? Genetic engineering, stem cell technology, so many things are coming. When it is coming like a blessing, because without a drop of loss of blood, it is helping me to recover myself, right?
Yeah.
Instead of 7 days, I can stay just 1 day and recover myself. But the cost is 10 times of normal. So the cost has increased exponentially, not incrementally.
Yeah.
Second is new diseases. We never heard about COVID. We don't know what new disease is going to come. Every year, I will say discover, or rather inventing. We are inventing new diseases, right? So after inventing new diseases, new technologies are to be implemented, right? So that cost is further increasing.
Okay, let's now go across to Juhi Joshi, partner at Climate Collective. This is the largest private tech startup support organization in South Asia. Very good morning to you, Juhi. In the post-Dharali calamity context, since that's what we were talking about briefly, to what extent can cutting-edge climate solutions help in building resilience in places most at risk?
Thank you so much for having me. We are speaking at a time that is a grim time for all of us. If we look at the data, past data and the past 10 years, we've seen multiple of these incidences, at least 4,000 such incidences that have occurred. And our approach to looking at these disasters is very reactive in nature. It is only about rescue, relief, rehabilitation, and then rebuilding, right? Even though this is extremely important, of course, and we have in many ways gotten much better at this, there is a need to look at this in a way that's more sustainable for the communities involved, the communities that get affected by such frequent disasters. And we at Climate Collective believe that the way to achieving this kind of sustainable world is through tech-enabled innovation. I think today, when we are looking at climate change, we are at a phase that we know that the fight against climate change needs to be immediate, it's urgent, and it needs our attention in a way that's quick, agile, and scalable in its approach, right? This is only achievable if we work with startups and tech-enabled solutions to scale up, and that's what we do at Climate Collective.
Juhi, this is an era of tech and startups alike. But tell us a little bit about climate tech startups in particular. How do they work? What are the things they do? What's their main aim? And how, through examples, can you tell us how effectively these tech startups put technology to use to mitigate climate change challenges?
I can give you specific examples because I think we also need to demystify the space. When I talk about climate tech startups, it means that at the core of their innovation, the technology that they have developed is a climate positive technology, which means that they are either mitigating some negative consequences like depleting water, or more polluting device to something that's much cleaner. So at the core of their innovation is this technology. I'll probably categorize these technologies in how we look at it from a adaptation and resilience point of view. So for example, when I talk about the Uttarakhand floods and landslides, in the wake of a disaster, rather than just looking at rescue efforts, we can take a very proactive step in first analyzing much before the disaster strikes as to what we can do through technology to actually strengthen what's on the ground so that it's not so much affected by a disaster. So for example, there is this one startup called Resilience AI, wonderful company doing some great work. What they do is they build a technology that is something like an MRI scan that we do for the human body to check if everything is in order. Wherever there is some issue, we can identify it and then we know how to fix it. In the same way, Resilience AI actually maps physical assets, infrastructure, and sees where is it that infrastructure can be vulnerable to disasters. Once we know that, we can focus on fixing it, making it much stronger.
Juhi, we were just a few minutes ago talking about the importance of health insurance, other insurance policies. But why are we talking about insurance and climate tech startups together? Why are we having this conversation? How can climate tech startups help communities impacted most be insured in this way?
Absolutely. Yes. So one of the key reasons why we have the kind of impact on communities after the disaster is because the communities themselves are vulnerable to begin with, right? The more the vulnerability, the lesser the chance that the community will rebuild stronger after the disaster. Now, keeping that in mind, insurance becomes a very important factor to ensure that if there has been a loss, there is a compensation that the entity receives. Whether it is farmers who've lost their crops, whether it is people who've lost their homes, we need to make sure that they have insurance that covers them post a disaster, right? Now, one of the key things in insurance is that traditionally insurance has not covered climate related risks, right? Climate data in itself to become available is difficult, right? So we don't see insurance companies providing insurance or even higher insurance that are required in disaster prone areas. The farmers and the communities are not being insured. What tech companies do today are database companies that can map climate data to then analyze the risk potential, the risk profile of the region. How vulnerable is the region to risk, and how frequently are disasters going to occur, what is going to be the intensity of disaster, and based on which how much should a person stay living there should be insured.
Okay, very interesting. This very unheard of concept of tech companies mapping climate data to analyze the risk potential of the region. Thank you, Juhi, for taking us through all of those very interesting talking points, something that we must ponder about. Hope this was a segment wherein you did do a little bit of thinking of whether or not you're fully insured health-wise, your house is fully insured, and these kind of disasters most certainly has prompted all of us to get into that headspace as well. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Breakfast Club. That's all we could pack for you for now. See you tomorrow at 8.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Supreme Court's recent order to cage and relocate all stray dogs in Delhi NCR, and that too within 8 weeks, has sparked intense backlash from animal rights groups, legal experts and citizens. Critics argue that the order is both legally unsound and dangerously impractical, potentially affecting up to 10 lakh stray dogs in Delhi alone. While the Delhi government has promised a humane implementation, questions remain over feasibility. The MCD says that it is duty-bound to follow the order, and Delhi police have begun detaining protesters and registering FIRs against those animal lovers, rescuers and activists who gathered at India Gate to protest, only to be detained by the police later. As infrastructure collapses and officials remain unaccountable, many are questioning why stray dogs are being singled out. Meanwhile, celebrities, animal rights activists and politicians also have joined the debate, asking, is India becoming no country for dogs?
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक नया डिसीजन लिया है, वो स्ट्रे डॉग्स को चाहते हैं कि शेल्टर होम में वो लोगों को रखा जाए। अब इसके ऊपर क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
देखिए, जो डिसीजन लिया है उसके अगेंस्ट कुछ करना चाहिए, कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हम लोग काफ़ी टाइम से पूरे ब्लॉक में सब लोग परेशान हैं। हमारी बिल्डिंग में भी एक कुत्ता हफ्ते 10 दिन से आके रह रहा है। किसी का पेट है, किसने पट्टा बांधा हुआ है, लेकिन वो क्या है, जो भी बच्चे वहाँ के उनको काटना चालू कर दिया उसने। उसको भगा रहे हैं, भाग नहीं रहा, वहाँ पर काफ़ी दिन से वहीं बैठा हुआ है और बच्चों को काट भी रहा है। कई कितने केस हो गए यहाँ पर।
अब अपने MCD को कंप्लेन करी थी इसके बारे में?
नंबर ही नहीं मिल रहा। ऑनलाइन भी मैंने यहाँ NDMC का है हमारा, मैंने NDMC के नंबर भी सर्च मारे, एक नंबर ही नहीं मिल रहे कि जिसमें हम कंप्लेन करें।
बात जो डिलीवरी बॉय होते हैं वो रात में या दिन में जो भी टाइम में जाते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली रात में क्या होता है कि वो जब डिलीवरी करने जाते हैं तो कुत्ते उनको चेज करते हैं और उसके ऊपर वो एक्सीडेंट्स का भी सामना करते हैं। तो इसके ऊपर आप क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
इसके ऊपर का कोई सेफ्टी उनके लिए कुछ होता नहीं। हम लोग कंप्लेन भी किए, उसके बाद कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई और अभी भी मेरे घर में बैठा हुआ है और उसको अगर थोड़ा बहुत हटाते हैं फिर आग बढ़ जाता है, भौंकने लगता है।
कंप्लेन करने के बाद भी कुछ नहीं हुआ है?
नहीं, कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई।
जो हमारे घर के नीचे वहाँ पे 6-7 कुत्ते बैठ रहते हैं हर वक्त, शाम को भी दिन में भी
जी
भौंकते रहते हैं। जब बच्चे खेलते हैं फुटबॉल वगैरह, उसके भी दो बच्चों को भी काट खाया ना, वो लेगी उसकी माता। लेकिन उन्होंने को हमने कहा ठहरो अभी कंप्लेंट करते हैं, लेकिन वो सीधे हॉस्पिटल में ले गए थे।
हॉस्पिटल में जाना पड़ा,
सीधा ले गए वो हॉस्पिटल में, और अब भी बैठे रहते हैं।
ये देखिए
शाम को दिन में भी ये
जो डिसीजन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिया है जो डॉग्स को शेल्टर होम में डालने का, आपको ये इसके बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहती हैं?
मेरा बहुत दुख हो रहा है। ऐसे हमारा पिल्ला हमने इतना दिन पाला है, कबाड़ी चुनना है, सब कुछ हमने अपना पेड़ मेरा पेड़ काट के मैंने इसको खिलाया। बताओ, इतना दुख हो रहा है। मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट को खुद सोचना चाहिए, इनके कोई जगह नहीं है, कहाँ डालेगा। पूरा दिल्ली में ये एक शेल्टर भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं।